Ladies and gentlemen, His Excellency President William Samoei Ruto, a few hours ago, he did a press conference addressing the nation. Him and his MPs, Kenya Kwanza coalition government. And the president, he's saying that he has verbally withdrew the finance bill 2024 to 2025, to be specific, the financial fiscal year of Kenya. And now it has come at the time whereby tomorrow being on Thursday, the Gen Z vowed to go and occupy State House. Hashtag occupy State House. And what we saw in the morning was that the Kenya Defense Force was approved by the MPs and the parliament earlier in the morning to being deployed all around Kenyan street. So essentially, it's like a military takeover for Kenyans. It's like literally the president is declaring war among its citizens, and he is using the police force or the military force. And now, at the same time, we saw that actually judiciary at the same time, they suspended the Kenya Defense Force to be deployed in the streets of Kenya, in the cities of Kenya. At the same time, we have human rights being going to court to someone the massive killing in Githurai 45, where so many lives lost, arguably, like my projection, like 200 people killed or more, or even less. At the same time, we saw that the Law Society of Kenya actually sued the CS of Defense, Adan Duale, for arguably deploying the Kenya Defense Force in the streets of Nairobi, in the streets of Kenya, in the streets of Nakuru, in the streets of all the major cities in Kenya large. At the same time, we saw actually the President William Ruto business, Western Hotel, is guarded, fully guarded by the military. And at the same time, we saw State House. There was massive deployment in State House. Okay. So during the speech, the president, he said majority of the key points that I will say and I will take. The president said that we've actually paid Eurobond, and the Eurobond is estimated to be worth 1.5 or 1.1 trillion shillings or $2 billion. And he said 500 million dollars was paid last week. Essentially, that means that we have zero Eurobond. Okay. At the same time, the president said that he has borrowed. So far, no, he didn't say, but it is there in the public domain. The president has borrowed 4 trillion shillings. And he said that now the debt is somehow sustainable and the debt is manageable. At the same time, but he didn't mention how much debt it is. At the same time, we saw a gentleman called Aaron Cheriot. He was saying that if we don't sign the finance bill of 2024 to 2025, what will happen is that Kenya will be in a financial crisis. Similarly, what will happen is like Kenya will be like Argentina. Kenya will be like, so to speak, Greece, whereby if you have 100,000 shillings, the maximum you can withdraw is 20,000 shillings, which arguably is kind of false because they're using it to the public domain so that they can bring fear, because they know that in the budget it is arguably they have what is called budgeted corruption, and this is what is making the Gen Z to speak. Budget corruption counting amounting to trillions of shillings. So let's break down. We have IMF and World Bank debt standing at $5.2 trillion. No, I'm sorry, not in dollars, in Kenya shillings. Okay, that is arguably like 3 or 4 billion dollars, okay? And then we have also the China debt amounted to 939 billion shillings, okay? But here's the deal that I want you to go do. I want you to go and look at the IMF website. Okay? And you'll see actually Kenya, we have a debt of 2.5 billion dollars, or essentially that's accumulate 3 trillion per se. 3 trillion shillings that we have the debt. So when you look at the Central Bank of Kenya debt, they say we have 5.2 or 5.253 trillion shillings. But when you look at the IMF website, the figure doesn't match. So you ask yourself, where is another 1 trillion or 2 trillion going? Okay. And when you look at the money from June 1st to June 2025, June 2025, and the year 2024, we actually saw that Kenya paid zero to IMF, which essentially, and then you asking people that we raising tax so that we can pay debt, we can service our debt. Actually, the president said in his speech that for every 100 shillings that the Kenya government earns in form of taxes, they use 61 shillings to pay to pay the debt, to service the debt. And then you go to the website and you see zero, okay? And they say Eurobond is fully paid, $2 billion, $2 billion fully paid, 1.1 trillion fully paid. At the same time, he's saying the debt is much less and sustainable. But the question is, and this is the question that I like to pose to Mr. President William Samoei Ruto, that how much debt do we have? How much debt do we have? And since you got into office, how much debt have you took, which is public figures having that you took 4 trillion shillings, and how much money have you recently paid to service the debt? Okay, how much money have you used to service the debt? At the same time, we have the National Treasury of Kenya. They were looking to raise in the fiscal year 2025 all the way to 2024. They were looking to raise 4.18 trillion shillings. And at the same time, the president, with his order, he said that he reduced the budget to 200 billion shillings from the 4.18 trillion shillings. Now they had a new budget standing at 3.99 trillion shillings. Okay, which is like it's insane. It's insane. Like we have 4 trillion shilling. At the same time, we have amount of debt that it is amounting, they say, 10 trillion. And you ask yourself, if we had a proper accountability system, a proper accountability ecosystem whereby this is the debt we have, and this is the debt we pay, and this is how much money we asking you guys, this is the reason why we raising the taxes, this is the reason why we coming up with these new taxes, so that we can service this and this and this, we can do this and this and this, not in a situation whereby we borrow from Peter to pay Paul, or borrow from Paul to pay Peter. At the same time, the government said that they had invested in the finance bill. They say that 10 billion shilling was meant for agriculture, which essentially was to fertilizer subsidies, which is crazy. They're giving people fake fertilizers. So this essentially, these 10 billion shillings will arguably go to some people pocket, because you're giving fertilizer. The trust is out there, instead of let people do organic farming, let people use manure, let people use chicken manure, cow manure, goat manure, so to speak. Okay, they said, like they say, they accounted, or they set aside 18 billion shillings for junior secondary school teachers, and they were looking to employ 46,000 teachers on a permanent and pensionable basis. And they are, and at the same time, they're also looking to add more teachers, okay, to amount to like 20,000. So 46 plus 20, that's like that's like 66,000 teachers to be employed absolutely on a permanent imperishable basis. And the last he said that they were looking for last mile electricity on rural electrification, and they say they had to set aside 14.5 billion shillings. Essentially 15 million goes to every constituency that we have in Kenya to have rural electrification. Okay, at the same time they said in the speech 6 billion shilling was to go for universal health coverage, so that people, if you have diabetic, if you have cancer treatment, you can go to the hospital and the government will pay for it free. And you know the government is already bankrupt, okay, so to speak. And they say coffee farmers, they are looking to generate revenues for coffee farmers to get out of debt. And for milk farmers, they say they set aside some money, but they didn't say how much. And this money will make every farmer to earn 50 shilling per every liter they sell to the as because they feed the nation. And they also set aside some money for sugarcane farmers. But at the same time, he didn't say how much. Okay. At the same time, the president seemed all these protests, all this Gen Z, all these people joining up with the protest. He said that the government, his government, okay, his MPs, they are forced to do another 148 billion shilling reduction from the 3.99 trillion dollar budget, okay, which is essentially, I feel like he didn't address much as to why they did the reduction. At the same time, he didn't mention that it's arguably out there, okay, some lawyers, they say, and some MPs say in public that the president gave 2 million shilling for each yes vote in the financial bill. And then you ask yourself one question: if people were paid 2 million shilling for every yes, why do some MPs say, oh, if you don't sign this bill, Kenya will be in a crisis? Is it because that if we sign this bill, or is it because that if this bill didn't come to pass, you was expecting some money, budget corruption money, to go into your pocket? It is arguably right there in the public that some MPs said that the reason I said yes, so that I had to make sure that my plate was full first. That MP said yes in public. One said that he has and the president gave him tenders to construct roads amounting to hundreds of millions of shillings. How can he say no? He said he chose to say yes in the public domain. At the same time, we saw that also MPs wanted to protect their businesses, because that's the reason they decided to pass this punitive bill. At the same time, the president said the most interesting thing. He said that he will not sign the bill. He chose to withdraw the bill. And the main question is, when you look at the Kenyan Constitution in Article 115, in the Kenyan, in the presidential assent and the president referral, okay, the president has 14 days, okay, for once he received the bill receipt. He can choose to sign it, the bill, or send it back to Parliament. And earlier on, before the presidential briefing, the president actually said that he has decided, him and his MPs, to send the bill back to Parliament. This is the Parliament. Remember, this is the Parliament that the president gave 2 million for each yes for financial bill to be passed. At the same time, he said, I have decided to return the bill back to Parliament. At the same time, a few hours later, the president held the president briefing at 4 p.m. Kenyan time, which he said that he chose to withdraw the bill. Now, we know the Article 115, the president has no verbal authority to say verbally that I have choose to withdraw the bill. He is no right. And the same time, he said that he has decided to cut down on government expenditure, government expenses. He has choose to cut down. He said no to renovation, no to travels, no to hospitality, no to buying no to buying vehicles and things of that nature. And he has said that he will live within his means. Now, listen, this is the question I want to pose to you as Kenyans and citizens of the world. Do you think the president is lying? Because we actually see that when he is not flying, he is actually lying. And he has said that he and his government will set aside strict hostile measure to combat corruption. Oh my God. And we know him. The people, it is arguably out there. Not me saying it. It is out there. The people are saying Ruto is what? Thief. Ruto ni wizi. Ruto must go. It's not for me. Now the conversation has decided to change from reject the finance bill to Ruto to resign, to Ruto go. Ruto go. Ruto go. And actually what we saw is was right here. Hold on a second. See that? 1 million people match. The Gen X, the Millennial, the Gen Z, and all citizens match. Please carry placard, handkerchief, a bottle of water, a white cloth, or a ribbon, and the Kenyan flag. Meet up across the country. Dress code white and black. Why is this happening? Because of people who are killed. Peaceful protest. A peaceful protest turned into a violent one. And the question is, why? Was some people paid to come and turn the protest into violence so that the police can fire live ammunition? The president said that at least 6 people killed, but from the numbers, it's actually way more than that. It is arguably estimated in the 200, 300, or maybe 500 people killed. Boys and girls. We actually saw a police officer resign in public. Why? Because his brother was shot dead. We actually saw another one, police turning against each other and saying no, 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 and instead to shoot among themselves. Are we living in a country that is run by a dictator, or are we or do we live in a citizen where it is run by a genuine person? Now the question is, why is that the president decided to? The big question, the big controversial question is, why did the president decide to withdraw the bill? Is it so that he can save lives? Because he can choose to save lives on Monday, not today being on Wednesday, and just tomorrow being on Thursday, where people had vowed that they will go and occupy State House. This Gen Z are fearless. They don't fear even death. Death cannot threaten them. They know the rights, and they aren't afraid to die. Yeah, don't afraid to die. And they vowed they will storm that State House. They vowed that they will give a courtesy call to all the MPs who said yes. And actually, we've seen the Vice President of Kenya doing a briefing in Mombasa, okay? Official residency in Mombasa. He's saying that people, please, 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 he's begging for the Gen Zs to stop punishing MPs. They did what's right. And what's right was probably budget corruption, because they thought that the Gen Z didn't know. And here's the thing. When the government came into power, they said that the previous government left empty coffers. Now, what empty coffer means is that they had money in the central bank, but they didn't have the capacity to borrow. They had a ceiling, they had a cap to borrow. This is what empty coffer means. They had a ceiling. They were operating on overdraft budget. And so now they had to prove to the lenders that they have the ability to pay them back once they ask for a loan. And essentially the lender is IMF and the World Bank. And they had to impose punitive taxes on its citizens. But check this, you cannot steal from a poor person, but you can only steal from future generations. And the future generation is the Gen Zs and the Alpha of Kenya. The Alpha generation of Kenya. Those are the future. And if you don't speak, they will be the one to pay. They will be the one to pay. They will be the one to pay. Because now we live in a country whereby the decision of our 4 presidents, the president of the past, the Moi, the Kibaki, the Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, the Uhuru Kenyatta, the debt that they borrowed, whether they stole or yes, it didn't go into development, okay, they stole that money. Majority. We had the case of the Anglo leasing, the Golden Bug, Anglo leasing, where Kenya is estimated to lose how much, like 60 billion Kenya shillings? That's a lot. And the president also said, the current president, he said that the current development, they will be stopped. They will be put on a pause, or the government will look for money next year. But the question, another question still arises is that, now will they borrow again, or will they not? Will they choose to go to commercial banking like the likes of Russia and China, or will they go still to IMF and the World Bank? And they had to prove again, can you pay this loan once you get it? We will give you conditions, and once you meet this condition, then we will service you the loan. Will they do that? The question again comes in, Kenya need to have an end game of where the tax money goes. If you say you're collecting this money for that, you need to have a structure and explain to Kenyans this is why every dollar much is going. And since this is how much money I've paid in debt, and this is the current debt we have now, and this is the plans that we plan to pay it, okay? We must have structure on how public debt is fully used. We must set aside some hostile measures, hostile infrastructure, whereby if you found doing corruption, you're literally like something nasty will happen to you. Like for example, we literally find all your wealth, whether you gained legally or illegally, we will find all your properties, all your assets, all the cash in the bank, all your cars, all your vehicles, and we will sell them so that we can recover public money. And that way, people can be serious with the way they handle taxpayers' money, because it's sad that this issue of finance bill, honestly, today being on Wednesday, after so many lives are being killed, after the international, like the UN are watching over this guy called Ruto, President Ruto, and he could have decided to say, boom, our young lives do matter way more than this finance bill of mine. Even if I was looking for 1 billion for renovation of the office of buying furnitures in the State House, even if I was looking to open an office for my wife and that will get 2.5 million shillings every single day, even if I was looking to open an office for my deputy president, in the sense whereby the deputy president's wife will earn 2 million shillings every single day, even if, and also he said that we had a confidential money. This money was amounted to like 800 million, close to 1 billion shillings, whereby this was confidential money where Kenyans, they had no right to ask where this money is being used, and it's your taxpayers' money. And you have no right to say, oh my God, how is that money being used? You have zero right. And they actually, Kenyans start to raise up and speak. Even if it has cost life. Guys who aren't afraid. And this is just the beginning. The next thing I believe that the people will do is that they are saying Ruto must go. Ruto to resign. Now, ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, I would like to impose your to you question. You can comment down below. You think this is a game? This is a facade? Do you think this is a bullshit? Do you think this is, well, I go better word BS? Do you think this is a trap? Do you think this is a game to play on the youth, Kenyan youth, so that they can reduce their protest and them not to storm State House and them not to remove him from office, him and the MPs to be protected, him and the situation to slowly calm down? Or in the next 28 days, if the president doesn't sign this bill, will actually this bill come into law and the Kenya will bear the harsh realities of the bill? So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I see you at the top. The bottom is way too crowded. Thank you.